protests in Lebanon continue despite the government having approved a raft of economic reforms on Monday. Protesters say they want a complete overhaul at the top. They want Prime Minister Saad Hariri to resign. These are the biggest demonstrations in Lebanon in years. Schools and universities remain shut. Let's go to Beirut now and speak to our correspondent Leila Molana Allen. Leila, is there a change of mood on the streets?
There absolutely has been a change today, and that comes from the fact that the government has clearly decided we are going to reopen the roads and get this country moving again, whatever the protesters think. Since late last night and early this morning, on roadblocks around the country, and particularly around Beirut, where there are about 20 roadblocks happening, the army has moved in and has been trying to move protesters on. In the south inside, we had the security forces last night running bulldozers through, trying to move people out of the roads, and today there have been quite a few clashes there. Now, all these clashes that are happening with the army, this is really quite serious, and the reason for that is that the army is the one institution in this very divided, sectarian divided country that everybody, the people, have always felt has been with them, has never abandoned them, and has not taken sides throughout the 15-year civil war that ended in 1990 and to this day. So to have the army standing up against the people is really very emotional for everyone. And we've had incredibly emotional scenes today. We've seen soldiers bursting into tears as they are trying to force these people back, these protesters back, and protesters hugging and kissing them because the people really do feel that close to them. Now, this comes after Prime Minister Saad Hariri said on Monday to protesters, "I will protect your right to protest no matter what." And yesterday we saw the army actually helping and pushing back gangs that were trying to stop people protesting. So that is a huge change. And as I say, it has resulted in some violence, in some clashes across the country. The huge question here is, will the army stop obeying orders? If the army stops obeying the government's orders, that is an enormous change and could really lead to a lot of escalation in the protests here. Because at the moment, the government seems to be listening to the cartels, the gasoline cartels, the medicine cartels, the wheat cartels, who want the roads to be open so they can get their goods across the country. These are the people who just a couple of weeks ago were protesting against the government, and now they're working with them because they want the economy to function again.
And Leila, while all of this is happening on the streets, what are the political parties saying?
Well, that is everyone's question. Where are the politicians? We haven't really heard from them since Monday, since Prime Minister Saad Hariri's speech. The problem the political parties have here is that they really are backed into a corner because the line of the protesters, which really has never happened for a very long time here in Lebanon, is all of them means all of them. We're not on someone's side or someone else's. We want them all out. That's the cry going around the country. Yesterday, all the Wikipedia pages of the major politicians were hacked by people who changed the Arabic translations of their names to say all of them means all of them. One of the most famous chants here at the moment is a play on the names of the different political parties. So Hezbollah, the party of God. We want Allah without Hizb. We want God without the party. Harakat Amal, which is the Amal movement. We want the Amal, hope or aspiration, without Harakah, without the movement. So we want all these ideals, but we don't want any of the political parties. So Hariri's position, the Prime Minister, is very difficult. He has really been trying to ally himself with the protesters and say, I'm on your side, I'm trying to get the cabinet moving, I'm trying to get things done. But he is back into a corner, and whether the clever way that he's playing it will work is unclear. There are rumours at the moment in the Lebanese press that he's trying to convince a few more cabinet members to resign, some of the particularly unpopular ones, to try and save himself and have a slightly different government. Then we've got the Christian parties. One of the Christian parties, the Lebanese forces, all of their cabinet members, several MPs, resigned in protest and tried to ally themselves with the protesters, but the protesters have said no, you're still politicians. And of course we have Hezbollah, who are doing very well in this government, the primary Shia party. It's really in their interest for this government to keep functioning because they are the most powerful politically that they've ever been in Lebanon after the last election. But Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, he made a very unusual speech on Saturday. Usually he allies himself with the people, he's a man of the people, but he said no. We've got to back this government, we've got to keep it going, we don't have time with the economic crisis to start a new government. So he's very unpopular now and actually has Hezbollah members protesting against him, which is absolutely unheard of. All the political parties foundering at the moment, and it's very unclear whether they will be able to keep the government together.